Hi guys, hello everybody. We're just going to wait for some more people to join and maybe give like 2-3 minutes. But welcome to Fem Africa Spilling the Tea event. Hi everybody that's joining in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Just going to give it a couple more minutes for some more people to join. And then we shall get started in about 2 minutes. Okay. Welcome everyone. I'm going to give a couple more minutes for people to join. And then we shall begin. More people are joining. Okay, great. It's 6:04, so I think we should just start now because we have a lot to get through today. So welcome everybody to Fem Africa Spilling the Tea event, which is a webinar for now. This session is a webinar, and today we're going to be discussing breaking down finance for creative entrepreneurs. So welcome to everyone who is interested in this topic, and I hope that it's something that we can all learn from. We have with us 4 amazing panelists that are going to be spilling the tea on everything that we need to know about money and entrepreneurs, which I think is something that a lot of people think about before they sort of dive into whatever project or business that they want to do. Also just wanted to highlight that this is something that we are doing alongside Alpher and Union Bank. Alpher is Union Bank's proposition for women, created as a platform to enable success and empower women across all segments of the Nigerian society through capacity building, opportunities, networking platforms, partnerships, and tailored financial services. So thank you so much to Union Bank and Alpha for joining us today on Fem Africa Spilling the Tea event. Like I mentioned earlier, in case you're just joining, today's topic is finance for creative entrepreneurs. So first of all, to start off with, I'm going to allow every panelist to introduce themselves, give us a quick bio, tell us what you do, how long you've been working for, and a fun fact. I'm going to start off with Omolara Abiola, who is head of Alpha for Union Bank. Omolara, would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself?
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Omolara Abiola. I head Alpha for Union Bank. And thank you, Temilade. You have given a very good background on what Alpha does. Alpha is Union Bank's proposition to empower women across all across Nigeria, regardless of your life stage. A fun fact about myself, I love power bikes. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Omolara, for that. Next, we have Tosin, who is the founder of Money Africa. Tosin, do you want to introduce yourself, tell us what you do, and give us a brief, any fun facts that you have about yourself?
Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Oluwatosin Olaseinde. I'm the founder of Money Africa. Money Africa is a financial literacy platform that teaches millennials about their money. We leverage on technology to be able to deliver that. We have been able to reach approximately over 100,000 people online and offline, and it's our mission to take financial literacy all over Africa. I'm very excited to be on this platform and on this webinar, and thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Tosin. Next, we have Bookie Smart, who is the founder of Save, Spend, Invest podcast. That's what I have down here. So Bookie, do you want to introduce yourself and, give us a fun fact?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me. Like you said, my name is Bookie Smart. I'm the founder of Save, Spend, Invest, the brand, which encompasses a podcast, a book, conferences, workshops. And I just started this, 3 years ago now, off the back of me wanting to learn how to save better, spend my money on things that I value, and start thinking about investing, coming out of university and into, work life and full-time employment, and not really knowing just anything about money. So the goal with that is just to really help young adults, millennials, try and work towards their financial goals and work towards hitting financial freedom and planning for their long-term future as well. My day job is actually in financial advisory, so Save, Spend, Invest is a passion project that I do. So I'm a qualified accountant by day, and then I work in financial advisory at a professional services company in the UK. And a fun fact about me is this time last year, I think even maybe down to the date, I was actually given a bath to elephants in Thailand. So that was quite fun. We went to, I like traveling a lot. And part of what we did in Thailand was we were feeding the elephants, and we also got a chance to give them a bath. So that was quite fun. Wasn't as scary as I thought.
Thank you so much, Bookie, for that and for that amazing introduction to yourself and very interesting fun fact. And last but certainly not the least, we have Chidinma Okoli, who is the founder of FinLit Africa. Chidinma, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you do?
Sure, thank you. Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Chidinma Okoli. So basically, I'm the founder of FinLit Africa. For me, the goal was to make finance very fun and also very relevant for young people, right? So I wanted to kind of create fun finance content, and that's what we do, through our online platform. Aside from that, I also kind of work in the PE space as well as an analyst. My fun fact to be kind of similar to Lara's own, which is that I love cycling a lot. So not power bike, they're just the regular bicycle. So yeah, happy to be here as well.
Yay, so happy that we have an amazing panelist of women who are ready to talk money and talk finance and talk creative entrepreneurship, which is something that, a lot of us don't, have a lot of information about. And I think that this is going to be a fantastic conversation. So to start off with, I just want to kind of give a bit of a run through of how this is going to go. So sorry, 1 second. There's someone I think is on here that I don't know. Okay, great. Muted. Fantastic. So just wanted to give a brief run through. We have some questions we're going to ask, and our lovely panelists are going to answer them. After that, we're going to have a brief Q&A section. So during this whole panel discussion, if you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A section below. You can find it at the bottom of your screens. Ask any questions, and at the end, all the panelists are going to answer your question. So make sure you are really interacting with the Q&A feature at the bottom, so that if you have any questions, these women are here to answer everything, basically. So yes, let's start off with talking about, the first steps when we're thinking about setting up a business. What is the first step for anyone who decides to be more conscious about taking charge of their money? I want to ask this first to Bookie Smart. What is the first step when it comes to just, taking charge of your money?
I think for me, the first step is to plan. Everybody knows the popular phrase, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And I think that's probably one of the most underestimated thing with finances, is just this ability to sit down and plan. And, whether that is personally or business-wise, you just need to really put pen to paper and ask yourself, what is my goal here? What am I trying to do, and how can I do it? And sort of, map everything. It doesn't have to be perfect. And, majority of the time, nothing actually quite goes to plan, but it's that structure and also getting your mindset ready of almost like the journey ahead. So before you do anything, before you think about registering the business or how much anything is going to cost, just have that plan down of what you want to do. And that's going to really start to position you to then, allocate cost and budget with and things like that. That'll be my first step.
Great. Thank you so much, Buki, for that. You mentioned something about goals and, also framing your mind. I want to ask Lara this question now. Why do you think so many people are just so overwhelmed, even when it comes to, let me make the goals. But before you even get to the goals, a lot of people are overwhelmed with the thoughts of, taking charge of their money. Why do you think a lot of people feel that sort of way when it comes to money?
So I think that a lot of people tend to, I think people are kind of used to other people managing things for them. So taking time to put thought and pen to paper. And as Buki said, planning is critical. So many people, we just feel like, okay, you know what, it's money, we'll make some more. Or there's this notion, most especially in Nigeria, one day I will blow, so I'll have so much more money than I actually need. So whilst Buki was talking, I actually put some things down. You really need to know how much comes in on a weekly, on a monthly basis. Track your expenses. Like, you really need to put pen to paper as to writing a list of how you are spending your money. Then knowing what options are out there for you to put your money in, so you don't have your money just sitting down there and possibly being devalued by the day. So you have to find out, okay, where do I have to put my money in so I'll make more money? Making money is a very deliberate effort. Like, it's not going to happen by chance. Anyway, I tell you, they look at the number of people that win the lottery. What happens at the end of the day? Most of them turn out as broke. So hey, it means that multiplying your money actually takes a deliberate effort, and it means that you have to write down your goals. First off will be your vision. What exactly is it that you're trying to do? Is there space in that market for you? Can you then pen it to a point where, or put it down on paper to a point where you can actually see how it is a vision, there is a problem it is going to solve, and how you can monetize it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So what we're getting a sense of is that you have to be deliberate and you have to plan. Chidima, I have a question for you. In Nigeria, we have a very unstructured industry for creative people. And now we've heard that you have to plan, you have to be deliberate, and it's not something that just sort of happens overnight when you want to be conscious about taking charge of your money. What would you say are some of the most effective ways that creatives can use to stay on top of their finances? Like, give us some practical tips.
Okay, I think the first thing that I would say is to think of your brand as a business, right? I see that so many creatives just think about their brand as their second, as like a second part of themselves, which actually it is. But then, if you don't think of it as an actual business, you might not make the right decisions for the business. So I would say, first of all, start thinking about it, okay, you know what, yes, now it's still small, but I want to grow into something really, really big, right? So how can I create structures around it that, will enable it to scale and become that big, company that I really admire? I would also say that you should try to kind of record all your income, because again, like I said earlier, I work in the PE space. So basically I kind of talk to so many SME owners, right? And you'll be shocked to see that so many entrepreneurs do not actually record their income. So when you ask them, okay, can you show me your financial account for the past 2 years that you've been in business, they have they don't have anything to show for it, right? So try to always record your income. It doesn't matter even if it's something as simple as a notepad, or even like an Excel sheet. Just try to kind of record any money that comes through your account, record it. Also, it kind of helps when you're looking for external funding, because then you have a form of proof to show that, okay, you know what, I've done X, Y, Z. You know, it's better to show than to just tell. I'd also say have a corporate account, which is very important. Because I mean, no one wants to see like a bank statement that has your hair and then also has business expenses together. No one would take you seriously, right? So you want to also have an account that is separate for your business, which all your income and all your expenses goes through. Then also fix a price that is in line with the market, right? Because as a creative, sometimes you tend to work in a space where prices are largely unstructured, but you don't want to have a situation where the price that you charge for your service, after now delivering on that service, you see that you actually even made a loss than a profit, because maybe you didn't really factor in all your costs. Feel like you place a price. Be like, you know what, I spend, okay, to like deliver this project, I will spend money on, let's say, even Uber, data, and so on. Factor in that cost into your profit, into your price, and then now add a margin before now fixing a price on your business. When you do it that way, it kind of like helps you fix a price that covers all your expenses, and then also guarantees you a profit as well. So basically, I would just say, you know, first of all, think of your brand as an actual business, number one. Also have an account for your business separately. Keep a record of everything that you usually like, that usually come into your company, both income and expenses, and then also just try to as well set a price that kind of like, and that covers everything that you do, so that you're actually making profits at the end of the day, and not just, you know, just working for your client without anything to show for yourself.
Thank you so much for that, Chidinma. My next question is going to Tosin. Piggybacking off what Chidinma has said about, you know, these are the actual steps you should sort of take. One key thing that I felt that Chidinma definitely touched on was, I think a lot of entrepreneurs especially find it very difficult to place a value on what they're trying to offer. How do you feel that we can sort of get over that, you know, valuing what we're doing and making sure that we're actually making some sort of profit? You know, it's something that needs to be viable to us. And so how do you think that, you know, people can get in that sort of mindset and not continue to make losses?
Great. Thank you so much, Temilade, for that question. I'm just going to drive at it from two different angles. So there's a concept called unit cost, and it was a hard one for everyone to learn. I'm also talking about when we started our business. What is a unit cost? A unit cost basically ensures that for every unit of product you're putting out there, you're actually making a profit. Now, a lot of creatives fall into that problem. Sometimes they want to do things because they want to put their names out there. You understand, like a pro bono or those other kind of things, but you have to be very, very strict and have to be very detailed to ensure that you are making a profit per unit. Right? Of course, there are technology companies that leverage on technology and they can suffer losses in the first few years and gain it back because they're scaling and leveraging on volume. However, as a small business, especially as a creative, you have to ensure that for every unit you're making, you are making a profit. Now, let's talk about valuation. I love to share real stories. I remember I just started Money Africa then, and it was a hobby. So an insurance company had reached out to us and they were asking us, Tosin, come and speak about this product and how much will you charge? I honestly didn't know how much I was going to charge. The shoot was going to take approximately 3 hours. So I was like, I don't know how much I charge, 100K, I charge 200K. And then I reached out to my other friend that is an assistant. She said, Tosin, what's the worst that will happen? Ask for 1 million and then see what they will say. Lo and behold, I sent them a 1 million check. And guess what? They did not challenge it. They actually sent me my one. And I was new. I literally had just been in the market for just 5 months. And that sets the record. So now, what we always tell people about valuation, speak to people. Speak to people. A lot of people want to build their businesses in silos, right? And it's not going to work. Go and speak to other people. Ask them, what are you doing? And, you know, what is pricing? So you would see a situation where, as in one market, like there's a gradient and many people will be sitting on either sides of it because they're not informed or they are not aware of what other people in the market are charging. So then it becomes a buyer's market. So how do I go about that? Number one, ask. Number two, put in the value of your cost. Number three, also be very honest with the kind of branding you have. When we started, it was easier for us to take deals that, you know, maybe were not so great, but now it's more premium because we've worked for it and we've generated the numbers. So we back it up with proof that this is the kind of numbers we get. This is the kind of reach we have. This is the mailing list we have and other things. So back it up with numbers, ask people around, and then also try. The worst case, if a client has come all the way to speak with you, trust me, they wouldn't just turn you down because of a price. They would most likely want to negotiate. So in summary, Number one, pricing. Number two, back it up with stats. What have you done? What has your reach been? What has your engagement been? Number three, speak to other people in order to be able to give an informed answer. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Wow, thank you so much for that, Tosin. Yes, you've mentioned one thing that I really think that we should now go towards. You said that one mistake is that a lot of people, entrepreneurs, especially when they're starting out, they want to sort of work alone. They don't go out there and find out what exactly is going on. They don't ask questions. So that's one mistake. Bucky, I want to ask you this question. What are some of the other common mistakes that you see, that people have fallen into in your line of work, or any sort of like entrepreneur that is trying to start off?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I absolutely loved Tosin's answer. I was just like, yes, to everything. Yeah, so I think one of the other common mistakes is that people underestimate everything. And I like the example as well that Tosin gave about how, you can quote a price thinking that it's high or have no idea. I mean, that may not always work for everybody, but like she said, the worst case scenario was that they could have negotiated down. And even if they negotiated down, she could have even still had a really good deal, even if that was half of that million that she asked for, 500K, which is way more than she initially thought. So I think a really big misconception is this whole, I don't know if people are going to pay me, or people not even valuing themselves enough to be able to charge actual high prices. And I always find this especially more in women, where they're downplaying what they've done, they're downplaying their reach, they're downplaying their brand as a whole, and the sort of community that they've built, or the value of their brand, as it were. And because of that, they're not charging the right prices. They're not even going for the opportunities that they could potentially go for, because they don't think that they have enough experience, they have enough skills, they're not qualified enough, they haven't done enough. And it's like, you don't know what you don't know. You always have to be willing to put yourself out there. You always have to be willing to, charge whatever it is that you want to make, and add tax on top of that, right? That's how I always think about it. It's actually, how much do I want to make? What would make me comfortable? And then add some more of that, and then start to negotiate it down with people. But yeah, so I'd say that you can't sort of go into, especially the creative market, with just thinking that you want to do things by yourself and you're going to sort of figure it out. And when you blow, you're going to happen to go viral at some point, and then you'll be recognized. It's like, you have to, first of all, do these things yourself. And like Lara was saying, be intentional and deliberate about the amount of money you actually want to make, and don't be afraid of asking for that as well.
Hi, so sorry, my internet just broke up. It's been raining in Nigeria, so everything is a bit out of order. I'm so sorry for that, but thank you for sharing that. Lara, what are some of your common mistakes that you've also noticed that you feel that?
So common mistakes, we spoke to a number, but critical to re-emphasize is knowing your value and your worth. So you have to define that. Nobody's going to do that for you. And Josie said something about asking for a 1 million naira check, and it was given to her. But trust me, whoever is paid for that service have identified that she is worth every dime of it, because she has done the hard work. So you have to do the hard work. Some other common mistakes is spending money you don't have. So just assuming that, oh, it's going to come. Yeah, I have a contract. You've gotten probably like 20% of the money, and you start spending the 80% before it comes true. Hey, you're already setting yourself up for trouble. Then there's nothing wrong with starting small and scaling as you go along. It might get us to delve slightly into talking about should I scale with equity or debt? But depending on what you're trying to achieve as a creative, for me, I always debt is only good when the cost of debt is less than the return I am going to make. If the cost of debt is too high, sorry, it's not worth your while because you're working for somebody else full time. You're just leaving for somebody else. So to recap, first of all, just make sure that whatever you're doing, the value that you're actually calling for, you to thyself be true. Hey, tell yourself the truth. Do I really deserve this? Like, am I telling lies to my client, or I really deserve this money that I'm asking for? Now, if you know that you deserve the money, there's nothing wrong with walking away from deals that are going to actually throw you out of that are just not worth it. As in, there's nothing wrong with walking away from time to time if you know that it's going to actually affect your self-esteem and affect who you are or your self-worth in itself. But and there's nothing wrong with taking some deals that you know that have the potential of giving you the opportunity for bigger deals, or that also just sometimes it might even be a loss-making deal, but it reinforces who you really, your true worth. It reinforces that, okay, this business or this idea or this business I'm into, I'm not making a mistake. It reinforces that you know your onions, and it just tugs you along. But I'll say that don't spend money that you don't have. A potential of a check is not yet a check. Even a check is until you can cash it, it becomes your money. Then make sure that you keep your costs under. If you know that if you want to, there's nothing wrong with starting small. If you have to scale, make sure that you consider your cost, the cost of that growth. Should it be equity contribution, or do you want to go and get money from you want to get a loan to do it, to scale? So that's it for me.
Thank you so much for that, Lara.
Okay.
When you were speaking, so many things were just coming to my mind, because I feel like now with social media, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors about, what it actually means to have a business, but have a business that is actually making money. Because just because someone has a lot of followers, or because they are,
sold out.
Exactly. Or we've heard a lot of stories where a lot of founders really coming out and, being sort of exposed that they don't actually have as much money as, they're trying to showcase. I want to talk about social media and the illusion that it sometimes creates with entrepreneurs and money. Chidima, what are your thoughts about, how this is sort of also feeding into this negative idea that a lot of people definitely are definitely taking out more money than they need to, and not being as smart just to sort of appear in a certain type of way on social media? What are your thoughts on that, Chidima?
So I think that is definitely a thing. I feel like even today we have so many founders who go into running a business because of how they want to appear, right? So we have some, it kind of like feeds back into the thing about a 9-to-5 or a business, right? We have people that, ideally, before you want to go into running a business, you want to solve a problem. That should be the ideal way of approaching a business. Like, it shouldn't just be because, I want to, like, I saw a founder that looks like she's living her best life, so me too, I want to, go and try to also live my best life in a side hustle or business. It might actually not end up well for you. So I think it is clearly like a thing I see most people do today, but I also know that most times those kind of founders do not really last long, because when you go into business with the whole idea of you're just trying to live like someone else, you're not trying to actually solve a problem. It means that you're already at a disadvantage, because then you haven't really done your market research. You haven't really seen, okay, is there really a market here? Is there really something here for me to do? Like, if I go and create a business here, like how long, like, is this going to be here, like into the long term, right? So when you just go and just try because someone else is doing that, it then means that you might actually end up burning out on time, because again, to run a business is actually really hard. And if you haven't thought through that process, you might actually end up just being burnt out and be like, what, I can't do this anymore, right? So either you burn out, or maybe you just even run out of cash or out of customers. So I think for creative entrepreneurs, before you go into that, ask yourself, be like, is this really what I want to do, right? I feel like people don't kind of like know that you can also be an entrepreneur, sort of, even in a business. Like you can be asked to go lead a new unit, you know, in a big business. That is also something entrepreneurial, right? It doesn't have to be you starting afresh from the start. So I'll just say, think about like, what do I really want to do, right? Am I really ready to go into this? Because it is actually really, really, really very hard. And it doesn't always look as glam as, you know, just there's so many times when, you know, you don't have cash to pay your employees, you don't even have cash for yourself and all that stuff. So if you don't know why you're going into it, don't go into it. Again, like we all know, most times what we see on SM is like mostly like just fake, or it's just makeup. It's not really real, right? So you don't want to go and, you know, get into debt, all that efforts to look a certain way, and then you end up, you know, just being in more trouble than you were. So to thyself, be true before you go into that. Be honest with yourself. Is that really what you want to do? Is that really, do you also have the skills required, you know, to play in that space? Are you solving a problem, a real problem? Are there other players there? If there are other players there, what can you do differently that will make your own brand stand out from others, so that you can also gain more market share? So I think that's kind of like what I'll tell any entrepreneur who is thinking about going into launching their own brand. Unlike just doing it just because it looks like it is a good thing to do, or like it looks glam. Trust me, it will probably just end in tears. Yeah.
I hope everybody heard that Chinoma said that it will end in tears if, you know, you are not really sure about your goals and why exactly you want to start off a business. Don't just think that it's this glamorous thing. It's actually a lot of work. And for anyone that has just joined, don't forget to hit the Q&A box at the bottom if you have any questions as we're going along. So my next question is for Buki. So obviously we're still sort of in these COVID-19 times, and it took everyone by surprise. And unfortunately, it even halted a lot of people's sources of incomes. How can creative entrepreneurs better prepare themselves to handle unforeseen emergencies like this?
You literally just said the magic word, which is emergency. And anybody that knows me knows I'm a big fan about emergency funds. I always go on about how they have saved me one too many times to count. And it is the thing that emergency fund is the gift that keeps on giving, because it literally will save you from yourself, even all the times you make stupid decisions. And, you know, even when you think you've done all the things right, I mean, no one could have ever seen COVID coming. And for people who, you know, will say to me, for example, like, oh, I don't know why I'm saving for an emergency fund, like what sort of emergency is going to come? It's like COVID, because no one could have, you know, planned it. And that's the whole point of an emergency. And really, for me as well, like I always say, what's your strategy when things are low, or when we're like in a recession or in a depression? Are you going to go wide and try and make, you know, increase your revenue sources? So for some people, you might be providing a service, but then you might also start going into product, you might go into consultancy, you might go into various things, producing a podcast, a book, you know, all these other different various streams of income. That's a wide strategy. Some people go deep, where they just cut their costs completely and they're just in savings mode, and they're saving. They're not spending on anything that is a non-essential. And then some people go long and start to branch into other things that they might not have been doing before or thought about doing before, and it might not be anything related to their field, but, you know, just having, I guess, something to even fall back on, where you're like, okay, I'm a creative, but I also know finance, so I can maybe even start doing something in the banking field, even if it's just for a short while. So I feel like you just need to have a strategy on how to hedge your bets. But number one is to definitely plan and have an emergency fund that you're constantly saving into, even if it's 5% of your income every month, even if it's 2% of your income. It's just important that you put something away each month for things that you can never foresee and you can never plan for. And then number two is to know your strategy and know what is going to work for me. How can I hedge my bets when things are low? Am I going to look at other ways to diversify my income? And especially this period, I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs and creative people have gone really thought outside the box and thought about ways of monetizing their existing skills. You know, there was a girl in London, she was just, I think she was a personal trainer, her name was Ciara, and during COVID she started Ciara Sierra London, something like that, where it was a private Instagram, and people were paying her a monthly subscription for something she was doing for free, right? But of course, she found another way to make more money. Another person that I know, she was just doing like consultancy on like a freelance basis, and she also had her 9 to 5. Her 9 to 5 got thrown off because of COVID, and she got made redundant, and she started then charging for this consultancy skill, even though that's something she was doing freelance, ad hoc, pro bono and all of that. It was like, okay, everything that has hit the fan and everything that can go wrong has gone wrong, but she had something to fall back on. So I think, as creatives, sometimes you can be very naive and just think like, oh, this is the thing that's going to make me money, but you don't know. And it's okay to have, short-term plans of other ways to boost your income, because it's important that you stay afloat. It's important that, you're making money, you're able to support yourself, you're not going into debt, and you're certainly, good overall as your financial well-being. You're not struggling to meet your needs and things like that. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Thank you so much for that, Buki. My next question is that this is for Lara. So a lot of times we've heard the phrase, let your money work for you. In terms of saving, investing, and generating some form of passive income that can also compound into a large sum in the long run, what would you suggest that young creatives start doing in order to plan for the future?
Okay, thank you, Temilade. So I will write on a bit of what Buki said around cost leadership and diversification. So you have to watch your costs, diversify as much as you can, but before you diversify, define your risk appetite so you'll know where to put your money. So if you're a high risk taker, you can put your money into high risk investments that will give you, the second law of investments is the higher the risk, the higher the rate of returns. But in the bit of you first of all, as I said, you have to first of all define what your universe of funds are and how they come in. So a number of creatives that I know, and a number of millennial creatives still have their day 9 to 5 jobs, right? And they still have their art on the side. So you have to define within your 9 to 5, your salary as you have it. You take out your expenses, transportation, feeding, housing, all the whatnots, but you have to define your lifestyle to determine how that cost will build or how that will reduce. Then you take a percentage of whatever is left as savings. I'm a big fan of your emergency funds and ensuring that you have some money somewhere. You cannot, please guys, whoever is listening, always make sure you have something somewhere to fall back on, because there'll be that day that you need that money desperately for something, and you don't want to go borrowing because the cost of that fund at that time might be too high for you, and you'll be too desperate, and you'll take monies, you just sink yourself up in debt. So in my own opinion, I'll say that if you can save, whatever from your art, if you can save up to 50% of whatever you earn, it's fantastic, because what that does for you is it gives you some time to hone your craft better. It doesn't put you under so much pressure to keep taking gigs upon gigs upon gigs if you are into art and music, or if you're a painter, an artist, and in the sense of it, but just make sure that you're able to save as much from whatever it is that you're earning, and make sure that when you build your costs, I know Chidima had spoken to building your costs, and Buki as well touched on that as well. When you're building your bill, make sure you value you as an individual and say, what am I really worth? And put a price to it. There's nothing wrong with putting a price to it. Put a price to yourself. Hey, the worst that will happen is a no.
Exactly. The worst that will actually happen is a no. Thank you so much for that, Lara. So now, Tosin, I also want to ask you this question as well, because I think a lot of people either thrived during COVID, to be fair, or actually crumbled. A lot of people are coming out with new ideas and we're making money, especially with the example that Bookie gave us with the fitness program and the fitness Instagram page. What do you think is the key sort of the determining factor of not just making sure that your business can stay afloat, but that you are not shutting down your business because of money? So this question is for Okay, I don't didn't have this question. What do you think? What sort of advice would you also give about, emergency funding and what people can do? So this is for Chidima.
A second, yes. I had to say. Okay, so you're asking that how can businesses stay afloat during COVID?
Yes.
Okay, so to kind of answer what you said the first time about what is the difference between those that stay afloat and then those that go down, I would say it depends on two things, right? So first of all, it depends on you having cash in the bank. Again, back to emergency fund to kind of keep you afloat, right? For different types of businesses, right? They're cyclical seasons, right? Some companies have months when they don't really make so much money, and then other months when they do really well. But the trick is that in those months when you're that, okay, I'm not going to make enough so much money now, you're actually keeping some funds aside for that time. So even though you're not really earning an income, then you're still able to kind of still pay for your OPEX expenses, and then still stay afloat to some extent. So I think for probably for companies that that were able to kind of still weather this storm, it was either that maybe they had some cash in the bank that they had kept aside for a time like this that kind of saw them through until when they were able to now go back to earning some funds from their users. Or then again, it also kind of comes down to how valuable is your solution, or
Sorry, so sorry for that. Efe, please, can you, Efe? Okay, I don't know what's going on there. Just 1 second. 1 second. Sorry about this.
I think you should be able to mute.
Yeah, I'm trying for some weird reason and it's not working. Just I don't know what's going on. Oh my God. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Okay, let's just continue. Sorry, Chidima, about that.
Yes, so basically I was saying that the first thing is around having cash flow, right? Cash at bank that can actually help you stay afloat for those times when you're not making enough money from your users. The second thing will now be around how you're able to kind of create a solution that people still want to listen to, or other people still want to get even in those times. And I'll give you an instance. So if you look at companies like Facebook, Amazon, Apple, and the rest of them, when they released their Q3 and even Q2 numbers, basically they had made so much money even during COVID than even before, right? And this was the same COVID where so many companies were kind of closing down, and even a case like what's it called again now, Virgin Atlantic, right? They almost had to literally shut down. But then we saw companies like Facebook, Apple, and the rest still kind of making good money even during that time. Why? Because they kind of built a solution that everyone needs and that is valuable to everyone. Again, even Zoom as well. Zoom made so much money during that time. So I think I'll come back to how can you make your your product or your service in a way that people need regardless, right? So how can you look for new ways to go about it? I knew like a creative founder. He used to kind of like run an art studio, and then during COVID, he couldn't do physical art shows anymore. And then, but he needed to still make money. So he now kind of like started doing online art exhibitions, and he was still making money regardless. And again, because people were at home and people needed ways or like outlets to kind of like express themselves, they kind of like bought into that whole idea and also making good money. So I would say, think about, how can I go with the tide? So now that we are in this situation, how can I think of, how can I package my service in a way that people still want to pay for it, and people still kind of like find it valuable enough, to give cash for it. So I think that would be like my 2 points. First is to like have cash in the bank, for times like this. And then also when you're in those times, think about, how can I be innovative? How can I create a new product or even a new like service line that kind of like speaks to this issue now, and then that people are still willing to pay money for? Because again, the truth is that the currency for value is money. Once you give value, people will pay you for that. So if you can find a way to give value to your users, either way, you still make money.
Thank you so much for that, Chidima.
Just to also add to what Chidima has said, spoken about on diversification, it's critical. Like I have a friend that owned an event outfit, and she was doing, she used to do most corporate organizations, events and all of that. So she was making so much money, but obviously, yes, COVID, nobody saw COVID coming, right? And it literally threw everybody out of sorts. And what did she do? She diversified into content creation on YouTube, where she started interviewing different vendors that, or rather suppliers at events, what they do, how they do what they do, how you could get into that, and all. So for me, I feel like, as Chidima has said, I just want to reiterate it, guys. If I have a friend also in the arts, and initially it was very difficult for her because she had a whole art studio. She used to go abroad to exhibit and all of that. But when that happened, she had to like pull her reins in and start doing stuff online. So you have to find a way of have a plan, like a short-term, mid-term, and long-term plan for whatever your craft is. Also, when things change, be willing to diversify, be willing to think outside, break the box. It doesn't exist. When you create your vision, you've created your box, right? But when things change, you have to break that box, because that's the only way you're going to see the opportunities. Else, you will be constrained by your immediate, by, okay, the fact that I have to be physical at work, because the fact that my business is, I'm into cocktails or desserts and all of that, and I cannot, if I am not at an event, I'm not able to serve my customers. But guess what? You can start doing breakfast boxes. You can start doing so many other things, but you have to break that box, else it's just going to restrict you.
Thank you for that, Lara. So you guys, don't forget, you have to also adapt, diversify, and break the box. Our last question, I want all of our panelists to quickly ask this before we move to our Q&A section. Like I said, if you have any questions, don't forget to put it in the Q&A box at the bottom. So Buki, what is your number one money management tip?
Oh, this is a question I love answering, and it's so simple, but it honestly blew my mind and has changed everything for me financially. And that is automating everything, automating my savings, my investments, my emergency fund, my bills, that like everything in my life is basically on automation. And what that means essentially is that I have a standing order, from my current account to all these various different accounts. And when people talk about, pay yourself first, which is something you hear a lot in personal finance, what that means is really like take care of yourself, take care of your financial future. That is your savings and your emergency fund. And for me, I would also add investments as a necessity with that as well. So the biggest hack for me in personal finance, the biggest money management tip is to, take out the emotional part of money, which is, oh, can I afford to save this month? Should I do it? Should I not? Oh, but I have to go out with the girls, but I have to do this. But, when you have a really good idea and understanding of your income and expenses, like Lara was talking about, you can make those decisions to say, every month I'm going to save 10% into a savings account. In another account, I'm going to save, 5% for an emergency fund. And then I'm also going to save into an investment account that, does my investments for me on a monthly basis. And that way, after you've taken care of yourself, you've taken care of your financial future, whatever is left, you can then, decide what you want to do with that, pay your bills, transport, all of that. But it's important to get the really important stuff out first. Biggest hack, transforms everything. That's what I'd say.
Thank you so much, Buki. And you also slightly dragged me when you said, oh, I have to go out with the girls. I was like, that is me. That I'll just, be, let me just put some money there, just, go out quickly. And yeah, it never works out well. It actually does end in tears at the end of the month. So Chidima, what is your number one money management tip?
Okay, before I share that, let me just speak briefly to what you say about, going out with the girls. I think for me, what I've done is that before I go out every time, I have like an account or like a card which is for like just fun and stuff, right? So I just transfer how much I need to go out to that card, and then I know that, once this card finishes, like I'm like, that's it, right? So you don't go out with your regular account card so that you're not forced to spend that money, right? So I think that kind of like also helps you going out with just the card for the accounts where your fixed money for fun is, and you know that, okay, once that's done, like, that's it. But I think my number one tip, or like what I've seen help me the most, or like what has given me like the best push so far, has been tracking my expenses, right? And I'll give you context, because so when I was in uni, I used to be like a Coke addict. So like Coke, the drink, not Coke. Yeah, so I used to drink so many bottles of Coke, like a lot, like up to like 3 to 5 every single day. And I never knew how much I was spending on Coke. And now, so Coke is about 100 naira, And so imagine if I buy like, let's say 3 in a day, that's like almost 1.5 in a week, and almost about, 7.5 or so in a month, right? But I didn't know how much I was spending on just Coke. And for a student, 7.5 is actually like enough money like to help me do other things, right? So I think for me, it was knowing how to plug that leak, right? Seeing that, okay, Chidima, this is actually why your money always goes, because like I was always like, how come like before the month ends, my money is all gone? Like, why is someone else using my ATM card with me? I never knew that it was that Coke that I was always buying, right? So I think for me, just learning how to, it was when I started tracking my daily spending. I was like, okay, like this is actually where I spend so much money on, and I could now see, because this is actually, no matter how small they are, they actually over time they snowball and then become really, really big expenses. So if you don't cut it down now, it actually grow into something really big. So I'll say for me, we're just learning how to track my expenses, even till now, right? Because I always track it. I can tell that, okay, I can see where I'm like spending so much on something, and cut that down so that I can now put that money towards my actual goals or things that I actually really, really care about. So I'll say try to track your expenses. Like it's actually a very, 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 very revolutionary process. Like it will show you really, like it will show you who you really are, and it kind of like show you where you're overspending on, and the areas that you can cut down of. I've heard people who say that, oh, I can't save because I don't make enough money. But actually, when you now go and track, you now say that you're actually spending so much money on things that you didn't even know, and that's money that can be used towards savings and stuff. So yeah, I mean, for me, it will be track your expenses.
Thank you so much for that, Chidima. And Lara, what for you is your number one money management tip?
Spend less than you earn. Just spend less than you earn. spend less than you earn. I can't re-emphasize it. Like, know how much is coming in and make sure you spend less than you earn. That's all.
Simple, short, but very effective. Very effective. Thank you guys so much. So we've reached the end of our questions for the panelists. Now we are going into our Q&A. Like I said earlier, if you have any questions, please put it in the Q&A box below. So the first question, I'm actually going to ask Lara to start off with this. It says, an anonymous attendee says, at what stages in your business should you consider an actual professional to deal with your finances?
So I'll say that there is no point in your business that you will not need a professional to help and support you. However, you have to define if that professional will be paid or pro bono. So advice is free. Trust me, you just have to define what your network will be like. So let me give a very good example. I have a friend that has, she owns a wig business. She does extensions, and she's currently trying to own the colored hair space, right? And she was like, okay, I think I've gotten to the point where I should own a salon and all the works and personal hair care and all of that. And she came to me and she said, you know what, Lara, please, this is what I want to do. And we put pen to paper as per her costs. Somebody wanted to give her a space in Victoria Island for free. Say, well, for free in quotes. And what he wanted back was 35% of her sales. So I had to put pen to, yes, trust me, people can be, yes, somebody did that. Yeah, somebody actually asked for that. I'm actually like, somebody actually asked for that. But my point is, she did, because she's not very savvy with finances. She thought it was a good deal because he was giving her a space in VI. And I was like, you know what? The worst that will happen, let's value this space. Let's value it at 7 million. That means that on your cash flow, about 700,000 is hitting you every month. Then you're going to do up the place. Factor in that cost. You're going to have salaries. Okay, let's factor in, okay, how much you're going to make, some sort of projection. And I sat her through this, through this and drinks through the night. And we came up with the fact that it's a really bad deal. It's going to get you into trouble. You're going to just be working for somebody else, literally, and wasting your money. But my point is that if you are not open enough to seek advice or to reach out for advice in the initial days, you will make mistakes that you will make a lot of expensive mistakes. One. So financial advice, I think your network can support you with. Now, in the immediate, for your accounting, for your day-to-day accounting on all, there are a lot of accounting softwares online. There are a lot of resources online that can help you to plan your spend, to do your accounting, to do your balance sheets and all of that. All you have to do is, first, as I said to you, it's just very simple. It's just as simple as you counting your costs and stating how much you are paying out to see where you are landing at the end of the month. So from the little things of I am buying lunch to I entered an Uber, I bought airtime on my phone to make official phone calls. You write it to the cover. Sometimes it might be annoying. Trust me, it is annoying sometimes in the initial days. But I feel like when you really, really need a professional financial advisor will be when you want to scale from one level to another. But in the initial days, trust me, advice is free. Listen and try to sieve it. If somebody's coming to you with, you should spend, let me put it this way. even on the FEM platform, I was looking at some of your posts, and I actually saw something really useful for me. Like, there's this app that you had advertised about sharing costs when you guys go out. Yeah, and I read it, and I read about it, and I'm like, man, this makes so much sense. Like, because there's sometimes you go out with your girls and you spend about 100,000 naira or something, and because you are the one with the card you've paid, then you now have to start dragging everybody for your money. It becomes problems. So I'm just saying, like, financial advice is free in the immediate. When you're scaling into, from maybe, let's say your business is valued at maybe 5 million naira or 10 million naira now, and you want to scale into about 50 million or 100 million, or you want to take on really big projects, then you can call on a financial advisor or consultant to help you with it. And you don't necessarily, and I'm sorry, ladies, I'm not saying that you shouldn't get paid, but you don't necessarily have to pay that person upfront before the business comes. You can agree a percentage of that of your profits of that business as cost of advisory, if you get what I mean. So it is guaranteed money. It is guaranteed money that has come into your coffers that you are paying out.
Thank you so much for that, Lara. Our next question is for Buki. When starting up, hiring the right people is essential. How can young entrepreneurs hire right? What advice would you give?
Oh, this was interesting because I'm still going through it when it comes to hiring. I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes. And it is critical, and it is really important to hire the right people. And if you're in a position to even hire, first of all, that is fantastic, because, you know, you're then thinking about growing your business. When it's a one-man party, it's all well and good. It's when, you know, you have to then make decisions like hiring or bringing external people, is when you can really see what your business is worth and if it can stand on its own two legs. A couple of things that I'd say that I've done right is looking within my network and finding people who know really good people. I think sometimes we're just like, you know, we put things out there and we expect other people to come and find us and things like that. But it's like when you're starting up and you don't necessarily have that network, you know, you have to start from where you are. And for me, that looks like just reaching out to a good friend in the area of expertise I want. So for example, I have another business, and a big part of that business is data science. And I don't know anybody or know anything about data science. I don't have a ton of networks of people, but I know one person who works in data science and is a good friend. And I reach out to him and I say, hey, I'm looking for a data scientist. Please, can you put me in touch with anyone in your network? And he would share that to his people and then get me people. And then he would also then help me out to filter and say, okay, these are the skills that you know. So it's important that you start from where you are, identify who you need. Don't go with someone based on popularity or based on, you know, you've seen them on Instagram and they look good. Because I fell into that trap where I was hiring someone for social media and I think, oh, you know, they seem like they know what they're doing. But, you know, when it was time to deliver on my business, they didn't actually meet, you know, the criteria of actually what I was looking for. But now this time I've gone to speak to someone who's an expert in that field and said, can you find me someone within your network? Because you have that, right? I know you and you know them. So can I draw on your credibility and on the people that you can personally vouch for? And that helps. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes, you know, they too might give you someone that they sort of kind of know, and that person might not even be a good fit for you. So you have to find the right balance between asking people for help within your network, but you also having your own criteria of which you're defining what you're looking for in a person. And what I've done that's really been important for me now in my hiring process is just even having like an employee handbook. So what are who are the people I want to work with on a very personal level? You know, who are the people that they follow? What are the kind of things they're interested in? Making sure that we're aligned on values, culture, all these like softer things that we don't think about are very, very important. And the truth is, like, employees do make or break your business, right? You might have a great thing going on when it's just you yourself, you know, and you're going to all the events, you're smashing it. And by the time you're bringing someone in, if you bring in the wrong person, they have the ability to actually devalue your business and make your business less worth than what it is. And so you want to be very careful to make sure that you're bringing people with technical skills, yes, but also skills that are softer, and that would make sure that you guys can actually have a very good partnership, because that just really would scale things up. You know, the same way they have the ability to sort of bring down your business, they can also dramatically grow your sales, your revenue, your reach, your brand, and things like that. And also think about your employees as a representation of you. You know, as being part of the business or being associated with the business, as people are looking at them, they would also be looking at the kind of person that you are and the kind of business that you also operate in. So a couple of different things in there, but I hope that was very helpful.
It was incredibly helpful. Thank you so much for that. I especially love your point about soft skills and also making sure that you are hiring someone that is part of your work culture and your work values, and yes, the skills, but also someone that is adding, you know, value to you, and you know, that also makes that relationship a lot more effortless and seamless, which helps me, which helps you, everybody sort of way. Situation. We have one last question, and this is for Chidima. Oluchi says, in budgeting for your business to apply for grants, do you increase the price a little above the actual price or drop the exact amount? I don't know. Do you increase the price a little or do you drop the exact amount? So do you give the exact amount that you want for the grant?
I mean, I think when it comes to grant, right, everything is also an estimate, right? You're asking for an estimate amount that you need to execute the project. I mean, I think it makes sense to include like a little bit of gap, you know, to kind of like cover for any unforeseen thing that might come up. Also, keeping in mind that typically after every grant that you get, for most donor bodies, they'll ask you for like a they'll ask you for like a report afterwards, right, that shows how you spend the money. So even if you had asked for a little bit you know, above what you actually needed, when you're giving back your report, they can actually, you know, see that. But I mean, I think it's best to you know, give like a little bit of room, you know, for anything that might come up, because that is, I mean, it's better to have more money than to have less money, and most times you can't really go back and ask for, you know, for more money. So I think, I mean, I feel like it kind of like varies based off of like what kind of grant you're applying for. But I mean, generally, I think it's because I mean, even when doing your company annual budget, you don't just put the exact amount. You kind of like leave a little bit of wiggle room for whatever might come up. So I think, yeah, the same thing should apply. It's okay to kind of like just put a little bit of margin for anything that comes up, as long as then you then explain that as well in your report after the gig is over.
Thank you so much for that, Chidima. So we have now reached the end of our spilling the tea. And before we go, I would just like to say a massive thank you to our panelists for joining here, for all the wisdom, all the knowledge, all the subtle dragging that was done. But I think it's all just so important that we sort of know what happens when it comes to money. Before we go on to our contact details, can everybody just say, you know, where someone can find you, where some of our attendees can find you on social media? I'm going to start off with Bookie. Where can we find you on social media if we want to follow you?
Yeah, so I've actually just put in the chat, but you can find me on Instagram at SafeSpendInvest. That's where I do like all my educational things, and would be doing a little bit more dragging. But you know, it's important and is necessary. So SafeSpendInvest on Instagram. My personal one is Bookie Smart as well. If you just search my name, and there I just talk about a little bit of finance, a little bit about living your best life whilst also, you know, being financially responsible. So that's the content I'll be giving you guys there.
Very exciting. Okay, so Chidima, where can we find you on social media?
Okay, so I'm at Finlit Africa on Instagram as well. So FINLIT Africa on Instagram and Twitter, and you know, everywhere else. Then my personal page is at Chidima_. Yeah.
Okay, can you also maybe type it in the chat so that if anyone missed that, they can also just see it there. And it's also on our Fem Africa page as well. And Lara, where can we find you on, or where can we find you if we want any more information about Alpher or even just yourself?
Okay, so for any more information about Alpher, just go to alphawoman.com. We have a thriving community of women there. And personal page on Instagram is LA229RA. I'll put it on the chat, and also the Union Bank social media page. All right, thank you.
Okay, so we're going to share where you can find Alpher on Instagram right now and Fem Africa as well. So for anyone that's interested, you can follow Alpher for more information at Union Bank. You can also contact them at alpher@unionbankng.com. That's the phone number to call. If you have any questions or if you want to find out any more information about Alpher, that's where you can find it. And also with Fem, we have community@femafrica.com if you want to ask any questions. That's our phone number. And also our Instagram is @femafrica with 2 A's. So yes, this brings us to the end of our Spilling the Tea, Breaking Down Finance for Creative Entrepreneurs. I want to say a massive thank you to Buki, Lara, Chidima, and Tosin, who, she dropped off at some point, for spilling the tea, for giving us all the wisdom, and for just being a great time. So thank you so much for doing this with us. And thank you also to Alpher for this. Guys, so that brings us to the end.
Thank you.
No worries. Okay, guys. Thank you all. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.